know what you're about to say, Trev, but we are live, so so consider your comments carefully. Good evening, UK Crime Book Club. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with Trevor. So Trevor Lince, he writes TF Lince. Sorry if I'm a bit shouty, my ears are a bit stuffy. So if I'm shouting, just tell me to calm down a bit. And I will. Do you want to show off your books and introduce yourself, Trev?
Okay, my name's Trevor Lince. What I used to hide behind, one of the slogans I've put out whenever I've tried to join in this stuff is, especially on the site as well, I say that everybody's got a book in them, and so I'm living proof of that. So if anybody out there really fancies thinking, if you read a lot and you think, oh, I wouldn't mind writing a book, there's nothing stopping you. If you've got a keyboard, you just start and then you're done, aren't you? That's what I did. I'm sure we'll get into that. But my two books are Room 119, which is a mystery thriller, which we'll come on to, I guess. Yeah, it's I designed that cover as well. But
it's a gorgeous cover. It's really atmospheric.
Yeah, he put
and very telling. Once you read the book and you understand why that's the cover,
work out who he is. Yeah, but he put this up the side. He gave me about 50 versions, and when he put that up the side, I was like, I quite like that. I've never seen a book with that. And then when I wrote my second book, I got obviously the same cover artist. This is a bit easier to do because that's about a mile away from where I live, or where I was born. The Fincare Cliff Lift in Saltburn by the sea. So that's actually a picture. That's not artwork. The blue lights are artwork, and we went for the black and white again with the same font up the side. So I reckon I'll probably do that forever now. But that's funicular. Yeah. So there we go. They're my two books so far, and I'm in the middle of writing
members so they can find us. So we've got some hellos already. Hi Donna. Hi Patsy. Oh, somebody says hi Trevor. Enjoyed Room 119. Now I was calling it Room 119, but 119.
In America, when I've had reviews, I got a YouTube review, and Cara, she's nuts. She was she did a big half-an-hour review on it, and she was going, "Oh, and he goes to 119," and I'm going, and I had to tell her, I said it's Room 119, but I suppose it's whatever you want it to be, isn't it? If you want
you're the author. You said 119. That's what I'll go with.
119, so I'm from the north, so I think that's what I would have said. Yeah.
No, I'm northern.
I know, but yeah, 119. I don't know if it didn't trip off my tongue as well as Room 119. You can imagine it like the movie guy going in, and then they visited Room 119 rather than 119.
You know, I hear it the other way around. The comment for enjoyed Room 119 was Jennifer Price.
Yeah, I think she read it. When she read it, I sort of have a mental recollection of most people who've read it. Not everybody, because I've got quite a lot of reviews, but you do remember a little bit. I'm not sure when she read it. She might have read it yesterday and proved me wrong now. But
I don't know, but I know I did have a comment from Jennifer on the other post, and I'm looking because I should really have written it down. Jen, sorry, bad form from me tonight.
It was about dreaming, wasn't it? I didn't dare answer it.
There we go. Yeah, no, I'm glad you didn't answer it, but it was. So explain where your ideas have come from so far.
Yeah, well, I think she already knew that, Jennifer. So I'll go into how I wrote the book and how it all started off. So 2016, around about August time, I had a series of 7 dreams in one night while I was working away for an oil company, and I was living in a flat in an apartment in London. And when I say I dreamt it, I didn't really, because I was never ever asleep, but I was never really awake. I was in that in between.
That sweet spot in between, where you comfy and you're relaxed, but you're not really asleep.
Yeah, so I wasn't sleeping. So then about 2 in the morning, I dreamt a bit of this tale and thought, whoa, that was a bit crazy. Woke up, my wife was British Airways, she was working away at the time, and I thought that was strange. So I had no one to talk to. And then I tried getting back to sleep, and then it just continued. So, and I never really got to sleep. And then the day after, about 7 dreams, I would say, in a row. More daydreaming than sleeping.
Yeah.
I was tossing, I was trying to get out of my head going, just let me get to sleep, because I've got no intention of writing a book. And then what happened, I I told someone at work the day after. I said, "You won't believe what happened to me." Over the water cooler, and I told her, and then what happened, and then what happened, and then what happened, and this thing was like a film in my head. So she went, "Do yourself a favor, write them bullet points down of that dream, because you could write a book one day of that." And I, at the time, and please interrupt me if you want to ask any questions, because I'll just
No. Jennifer said read it when it first came out. That's it. Yeah. You carry on.
Right. And so I wrote the bullet points down, because I'm quite good in Microsoft Word, even though I'm probably dyslexic, and I've got an E in English. So I had no intention whatsoever of writing a book. I'd only read 7 books in my entire life, and 5 of them when I was serving in the Falkland Islands in 1992, because I had nothing to do. So I had no intention of, and I quite liked it. And 5 of them were Terry Pratchett books, and I thought, "Ooh, quite like this," because it was funny. So I think that's the only reason I got into reading. I say I got into reading. That's not much, really. Is it 7 books in your life by the time you're 50?
I know people older than 50 who haven't read any books.
Yeah, I know. I don't read much now, but anyway. So these I wrote the bullet points down of this episode, and then what happened over time. If we're having out on a night out, or if we're having dinner with my wife and some friends, I'll tell them about that story. So I started telling about the story, but then what had happened, the gaps in the bullet points, there was certain things happened that I'd dreamt. So all I had was marker posts, if you like. So what I had to do was fill in the gaps. So when I would tell the story, I'd fill in the gaps. So then I went to my Word document and put all these bits in to connect what was happening.
So and then you had to do it as you were going along. You did write it down as you went along. You didn't kind of just remember it all.
No, I wrote the bullet points down the day after. I've still got them somewhere. There's a lot of gaps in there, because I think I had to write. And then I'll just tell you how it came about. Then in January the 1st, 2017, I told the story a lot by then. So it had arms and legs. It had grown arms and legs and all sorts. And I'd had another dream episode with about 3 more what's happening next bits. So then what I did, I was having New Year's dinner with my mother-in-law and my wife, and they had 2 guests round. Tell them about that story. So here's me holding court for about half an hour, telling them about this story. And then and they said to me, "Well, you should write a book one day." And I went, "I will." And then my wife said, "Yeah, but you won't, because he never finishes anything he starts." So the 2nd of January, I was sat on the computer, and she's going, "What are you doing? You're not at work. You write my book." "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, you said I'd never write it, so I'm going to write it." So then I just
well played, Claire.
Oh, yeah.
Reverse psychology.
I started waffling away. So that's what I did, and I wrote the first 2 chapters. My wife was crying her eyes out reading the first 2 chapters.
I can't talk to you about the emotions. Look, I've gone glassy already, just thinking of some of the scenes in the book.
Yeah,
and we can't even talk about it. I can't even.
I can give some bits away, I suppose, but then to just complete the story, I wrote a few chapters, and I think I told you this the other day. And I was struggling with dialogue, so everyone's got a book in them. I'll go back to that. You just give it a go, because you'll be better. You'll be more equipped than I was. I suppose the imagination you need as well, don't you? You need to have a stupid, mad imagination. But when I started writing, I was really struggling, because I'd only read in junior school. Didn't do English literature either, because my handwriting was terrible, and I had to do remedial handwriting classes. So I was just written off at school, got no O-levels. But I do a really good job now. I was very good at IT, so I've got my own company. I'm an IT consultant, so I'm happy in Microsoft Word, and I've written training documentation, so it's not like I can't write. Yeah. But then it got to the dialogue, and I was like Peter and Jane. I know, depending what age you were, there were Peter and Jane and the Red Setter Dog when I was a kid in junior school, and it was always, you've got to put he said, she said, he said, she said, he said, she said, and I was finding it very difficult to find different ways of, like, he replied, and then he said, and he replied, then he replied quizzically, and I was trying to be clever without any reading experience, and I hadn't read a book for 3 years before I wrote it. So then my wife had bought me a John Grisham book, which is very ambitious of her, thinking that I was ever going to read it. But I think we were going on holiday, so she bought me it, and I just didn't read it. but it was in a bookshelf somewhere. So I grabbed hold of it and thought, how does John Grisham deal with writing dialogue? And then the penny drop moment was realizing that, yes, you can use descriptive words to say how they're feeling, what they're thinking, all this stuff. But if there's only two people talking, you can just separate it by a line break. I didn't know that. So if you can imagine, when I wrote my first 5 chapters, I was putting Dean said, Sarah said, Dean said, Sarah replied, and I was putting that everywhere, and it was so stilted. And it wasn't until I picked up a John Grisham book and realized, oh, you don't have to do that. I went, all right, okay. I still put them in when it's needed, but it gets a bit annoying at the end of every sentence if you know 2 people are talking that I'm telling you they're talking. You know, it's blatantly obvious. And that was a bit of a game changer for me. So I rewrote those 5 chapters, then off I went, and I finished end of March. So January, February, March, 3 months to write it. Then I tried editing it myself, and I did about 5 times. I rewrote it before I was dare give it to an editor, because I thought, I hired a really good editor off Twitter, actually, but she's a really good editor, and I thought they might laugh at me. I was really scared. So giving that over, I give 137,000 words. I got 96,000 back. So, and she taught me so much. She went, you're overtelling the story. You're not giving the reader credit. What you're doing is giving a secret away at a certain point, or a plot twist. You're not giving it away, but you mention it might happen later. Then you'll mention it again. Then you'll mention it again. And by the time you get to the plot twist, it's not even twisty. It's lost all its twistiness. I've told you so many times. So she ripped a lot of that out and said, look, readers are very, very clever people. If they think they've missed something, they go back. And the less you give them before a plot twist, the better. So stop telling them over and over what's going to happen. Let it happen. And the clues, if the clues were there, they'll either be happy they spotted them, or they'll be upset they missed them, but they won't be annoyed with the author for not giving them enough.
Exactly.
So I learned a big lesson. Anyway, I've been talking a lot, so I don't know if there's any questions. But yeah, so that's how it came about. And then got an editor, got it proofread as well, because I'm in quite a good job and I could put it through the business. I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do this. And I thought that'd be it, one book. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it properly. So I did get a very good editor, and then got it proofread. Worked with my screen cover design with a cover artist. I found I liked his work, and I think that version of Room 119, I think that I did tell you earlier, but I think that's about cover number, I don't know, about version 30 or something. And I think he was in America, so every morning I'd get, here's another version. And you should see when it started. When you started, that guy there was about 4 foot tall. And he was a little squat bloke with a bowler hat on. I said, no, he's got to have a trilby on, and he's got to be a bit taller. And then every day I was going, taller.
Stretch him. He's tall and thin. Stretch him.
He's a tiny little bloke down here. Quite wide as well. And yeah, he did an amazing job. And then I said, oh, he needs a cane with a silver top. And yeah, I'm quite proud of the book cover, because after you've read it, I think it makes sense. But
absolutely, and I do love that. I love when there's a title and a cover, and they both have a significance. I love coming across that bit in the book, and then you go, oh,
yeah. It's very proud of the cover, actually. I mean, I didn't do it, but I had a big say in it, so I was very proud of that.
Just having a look for your editor, sorry, her Twitter. I did follow her after we spoke the other day. Right. I went and hunted her down on Twitter and found her and followed her, and now I can't find her author name, which is really frustrating. Not her author name, sorry.
It's on my book, actually, on Amazon, and obviously you're all going to Amazon now to look me up. So Alison Jack. She's got two.
Is she Alison Editor on Twitter?
She's got 2. She's got Alison Jack, which is her personal account, and Alison Editor.
Alison Editor 1.
Yeah.
So anyone who's looking for,
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, there you go.
Talking about going over and above. I think it was because I was new and she loved what I'd written, and it was so raw. And I mean, she wrote. There's a time slip in the book where you go back. He doesn't know, the main character doesn't know this, but he does slip back in time.
Yeah.
And and it all revolves on this hotel, and he's in room 119, obviously. And there's a lot of things what she spotted, which I would never have spotted in A Month of Sundays. And then she wrote a spreadsheet with every single bit of Jodie and Sarah's story and Dean's story and where they crossed and what days it should have been. And that was where because I just wrote the story, and then she went, but that couldn't have been them because that was a Friday, and then he didn't do this, and I'm thinking, wow, is that what editors do? But she really did
other things. Yeah,
she went over and above, in my opinion, but I've never worked with another editor. But
all you need is a good editor. So you recommending Alison Editor 1, she's on Twitter, so if you're looking for an editor, go and follow her. I've just spotted a comment from Donna. Is that gin, Trevor?
Only because of the comments. I'm just going to have water and play it cool. And well, I'm playing it cooler. I'm having gin. Someone was having gin and biscuits. So my
gin
wife went, I'll get you some. I'm going all out with the mini cheddars, but I don't think I'm allowed them because I'll be talking too much because I never shut up.
We like that though. That's good. Chatty's good. Right. So you were just talking about different parts in the book. So we've done dialogue. There are different scenes. So room 119 has obviously a special purpose. It's the title of the book. The different people in the book. But how are we going to talk about the characters and any of the scenes? How are we going to do this? Because I did cry 3 times during this book. Yeah. So we were talking just before we went online about how, before we went live, sorry, about how I can't talk about any of it. So I've told you all the places and you've gone, yeah, that's one of the places that I always get. That's another, that's another.
People cry in 4 different places, but generally the 3 main different places. And just before I talk about that, when it first came out, it came out on my birthday on December the 14th, 2017. And I did get a couple of beta readers, you called them, didn't you? But I didn't know who they were. I just said, someone please read my book. I'll send you on a Kindle. I didn't know what a beta reader was. But anyway, I did get 3 or 4 people reading it and they give me 5 stars. But then I thought, I didn't know they were going to give me 5 stars. They told me, but you can't see them till it's out because you can't review a book before it's out. But they told me, and they give me feedback about how much they enjoyed it. But even me then, I was going, yeah, well, as a non-reader, I'm thinking, but I've just given you it for free. So surely you've just told me what I want to hear, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So it wasn't until I'd had like, I think 25 reviews on Amazon. And I think I had 40 reviews on Amazon, maybe. There's somewhere near there, between 30 and 40, where I think I had 98% 5 stars, and then the rest were 4. And I'm thinking, what? And I really was shocked. I was thinking, is everyone in on the gag? I thought I was in a parallel universe, not my main character. I'm thinking everyone's just, right, what we should do, all pretend it's a 5, and then he'll think he's quite good. And I thought that was what was going to happen. And then after ages, it never relented. And I thought, and obviously with being an independent author, it's very difficult because I didn't put loads of money behind any promotion. I just threw it out there, see what would happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was bizarre, that part of it. And going back to when you read the reviews, which is why I mentioned them, readers are so, and obviously I know the reading community now because I've walked amongst it, even though I still don't read too much. I've read 19 books now, but
you're in double figures. It's good.
Yeah, I'm nearly at my 20. I'm reading The Night Circus at the minute because it's got a circus at night. There's method behind my madness.
There absolutely is. I didn't get that when you said it the other day, and now I do.
And yeah, so when you read the reviews, the reading community is so lovely at not giving the game away. And you know, the word spoilers, I didn't know really what that meant. And they'll go so far into the review, then they go, can't tell you anymore. And it's so respectful, I think. So I obviously, when I try talking about the book, I try not giving too much away. But I generally say, when anyone asks what's it about, I'll say, well, this guy's a trader in London, so that turns about 20 people or about 100 people off. But there's not too much about trading in it. He just had to be successful because he had to be successful so he could have
a taste of it, isn't it? It's a taste of it. A taste of this high life before everything goes to, you know.
He could have done anything, couldn't he? But I had done a bit of forex trading at the time, so I knew a little bit about trading candles and flashy stuff like that. And researching the book as well, he does a training course at one point in the trading floor, all about the bulls and the bears, and there's a statue outside. I think it's Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Years ago, if you were writing a book, you'd have to go to the library for all that stuff, wouldn't you? Google is a wonderful thing. so you can just find, in the middle of writing your book, you don't have to stop and think, I've got to go to the library tomorrow to find something out. You just Google it, and then you can find stuff, and then all of a sudden you look the most intelligent person in the world when you put it in the book. And you're not. You're just finding it out straight away. Immediately in the middle of a chapter, you can go Google it, can't you? So it's so much fun. And so it's he ends up rock bottom. So it's a redemption tale, I would have thought.
I agree, yeah,
a redemption story. It'd be interesting to know your thoughts, Sam, on what, having not read much, and I'll try and not say that too much because it'll be getting to people's nerves, but I don't know. Yeah, apart from Terry Pratchett, who I knew was fantasy, I've not really read that many books. So when people say, no, what genre is it? I haven't got a clue. I think I've been told it might be an urban fantasy. That's what I've been told, but I wouldn't know. I can't qualify that with anything, but I would imagine it's that type of thing.
It's a tricky one to answer. I have wondered about this today, and then I looked at what you'd categorized it as, which is kind of a mystery suspense thriller.
Yeah.
And it has all of that in it.
Is that, yeah.
There's also these gorgeous relationships between people.
Yeah.
And these moments where everything's been going so quickly and then it slows right down, and you have these moments between various characters for various different reasons. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Jennifer Price knows exactly what I'm talking about. I can't tell anybody else. I honestly don't know what I would categorize the genre as. I don't know.
Yeah, but is that a bad thing?
No.
No, is it?
It's not a bad thing. There's a lot of different things in it, and it all works.
Yeah.
So in that respect, does it really matter? There's a lot of crossover books. You'll find all different kinds of things. I have no clue. So I'd be interested from anyone who's read it. Give us a clue. Me and Trevor are a bit stuck.
I just wrote it. You know, it came out of my head, threw it on the page. I wasn't trying to write any specific book. And then it is a bit strange. Don't get me wrong. You've got to invest in the fact that you've got to ride with the
You've got to remove reality, haven't you? You've got to go, what's the phrase I'm after? But you've just got to go with it. You've got to suspend reality. There you go.
Correct.
And just go with what's happening. And it doesn't feel all that unbelievable, which is where the emotion really comes in.
Yeah. And my mother read it. So I borrowed or lent. You told me this the other day. Did I lend her or borrow my Kindle?
You lent it to her. She borrowed it from you.
Right. Okay. So she borrowed my Kindle, which I lent her. Learning on the job. And she read it. And then she said, she cried her eyes out, and she phoned me and she went, "What, you got an E in English, Trev? You didn't do English literature. You haven't done any of this. How the hell have you written that?" And I said, "Do you like it?" And she went, "Yeah, but even my mother will, when she gives a copy to somebody, if someone says, 'Oh, can I have a copy of your Trev's book?' I'll say," she'll go, "Look," she gets very protective of the back end of the story. She went, "You might not enjoy the first 5 chapters, but they're essential for you to enjoy the rest of the book." So all this trading and all this stuff, that's just a facade to get someone to be at the top, to be at the bottom. Where the book really starts is he ends up total rock bottom. He's lost his family life as well. And he ends up, this is what I do normally tell people, he ends up at the top of Beachy Head, walking past this Samaritan phone box, which is at Beachy Head. There is a Samaritan phone box. There's the last ditch effort to stop people jumping. Yeah. And he gets to the top, and he goes past a frail old couple, sort of sat there having a flask of tea or something.
Can I say, I love Albert and Betty.
I know, yeah. Bizarrely, my wife's Nana and Granda were called Albert and Betty. I didn't have a clue. So she went, "Oh, I can't believe you put them in the book." I mean, I didn't have a clue they were called that. That's made
I hope you didn't say I've not got a clue. I hope you said, "Oh, do you know, Happy Valentine's Day."
Yeah, I should have done that. But anyway, nearly got a drink of gin there, but ran out of gap. And he ends up at the top of this cliff, and he's about to jump, and his memory's sort of indexing through some reasons for him not to jump, which I did put myself at the top of a cliff. A friend of mine jumped off Huntcliffe in Saltburn and killed himself. Now I was thinking, what was he thinking? So I was really thinking at the time, what would he be thinking? What would your brain be doing? And I sort of seduced, sort of came up with the fact his mind would be going, no, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this. So he started thinking about his dad, who's not with us anymore, and how he went fishing with him once. And the one time his dad praised him was he caught this big fish. Well, I'm from a fishing family in the northeast, so you write what you know, don't you? So I found that bit very easy. I've been fishing from Whitby in a cobble that my uncle used to own, so I knew all that. And anyway, after that, all it really did was make him think, oh, well, I want to be close to my dad who's dead, so I'll jump. So his mind sort of didn't do a good enough job. So he's about to jump, and then he hit the old couple who were a bit further down, who were watching this. Basically, Albert shouts out, well, if you're going to jump, can you hurry up because you're spoiling the view? And he goes, and he sort of ignores it. He goes, Dean, if you're going to jump, you're spoiling the view, can you jump? And then he slips and he sort of scrambles to the edge, and he walks back to this guy and goes, you just call me Dean. And he went, no, I didn't. And he goes, no, but you did. You called me Dean. And he went, how could I possibly know your name? And he went, yeah, but you definitely called me. And anyway, he starts talking to him. He goes, anyway, can I thank you both for stopping me jumping? I've got things to work out. And then the old guy pulls out a business card from a hotel, and he says to him, you need to go stay in this hotel. It sorts people out like you. And he looks at him, and he looks at this black and gold embossed business card. And then he goes, do you know what? I might just do that. And thanks them again. And as he's walking off, he goes, and when you book the hotel, make sure you book into room 119. And he looks back and says, 119. He goes, right. He goes, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'm not going to tell you much more about the story. I will mention a couple of characters, but that's where the story begins, really. And,
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
You do need to know all of the stuff that takes place before it, though.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
You really do. And I've got to admit, when Albert and Betty sat on the bench and Albert's shouting things at him like, hurry up, you coward, and move out the way, and you're blocking the view, I was thinking, oh, my word, what an awful man. Why would you do that?
Yeah, but you might meet him a bit later, mightn't you? But look at that. My wife's she's stacked them in a row. I've only got two. I was finishing my last one. It's not like I've got them on tap. I don't live in a bar.
Couldn't possibly comment on whether I ever have drinks lined up. Ever. Donna said Donna said good man. I assume that was about you having a gin.
Yes,
and your biscuits.
Yeah.
So Andrew asked, he says, Trevor, you said in the introduction, is that near Staithes? Am I saying that right?
Right, Whitby is near Staithes. If you're from near there, it's called Steers. We don't call it Staithes for some reason, but yeah, it is near Staithes. I'm actually born in Mask by the Sea, which is a mile from Saltburn by the Sea.
Which was the next part. Forgot to put the place in Saltburn. Is that near Staithes? Yes,
Saltburn and Staithes is in between Whitby and Saltburn. Yeah, it's a gorgeous place. That whole coast actually is unbelievable. I will say though, it's beautiful, that coastline. I mean, I would say that I'm from there, but although it's called Room 119, the Whitby Trader, it's not really set in Whitby. You might end up in Whitby at some point, which I'm not going to tell you why, but it's a guy from Whitby who's done well in the trading world, and he's ended up in London, and then the hotel he goes to, where Room 119 is situated, is in Suffolk. So most of the story isn't set in Whitby, but the heart of the story is from Whitby, I would say, yeah. Or the character is the main character.
there's been another book that I've read. I'm reading another series set in Whitby by an author called Mark Richards. Yeah. So there is that beautiful thing about that coastline and that the atmosphere that adds to a story. And, you know, I can't wait to actually go and visit.
Well, Funicular is actually set in Saltburn on that coastline, but although it says Whitby Trader, I wouldn't want people to pick the book up and think it was set in Whitby, because it isn't. But it's the main characters from there and the heart of the story, and there's something very important that happens in Whitby. Well, it might do. Can't tell you too much. Can I do that?
There are elements that make that a very... See, no, we can't.
No.
So tell us a little bit about Funicular without spoiling anything.
I'll tell you one more thing about Room 119.
On,
sorry, because I can tell you this. There is an array of characters. Dean's at rock bottom. He goes to this hotel, right? He meets a skanky old woman on reception who's a right cow. And then he goes to his room, and this special room 119 has got nothing special whatsoever. It's just a room. And then anyway, he looks out the curtains. He's tired out. He's had a long train journey. And then he looks out the window. It's just green fields for everywhere. He wakes up, looks out the window, and there is a full... The sky is full of rainbow lights, and he can hear the dampening sounds of a fun fair, and there's a circus tent. And he's like, what the hell? I've only been asleep an hour and a half, and this has appeared. So yes, that's probably why it gets compared to the Night Circus, or 3 chapters of it do. I know you've not read the Night Circus, but I'm in the middle of reading that now, and I've not got to the bit what might be similar, because just people have said it is. And I will go on a good funicular, but the things it gets compared to Room 119 reviews are It's a Wonderful Life. I can see that. The Night Circus, but only a very small portion of it is meant to be compared to that. Believe it or not, The Wizard of Oz it's been compared to. I can
see that.
Yeah, it's been compared to Alice in Wonderland and The Shining. Probably because of the skanky cow on reception. But it's been compared to that as well, yeah. Which, look, I'll take all them. But yeah. So I can't tell you much more about Room 119. There's one more thing happens in it which will probably touch everybody. It'll touch probably everybody in the country or the world has probably been touched by this, if not first-hand, second-hand. And I can't really tell you what it is.
No, you can't. But what we can say is that we talked about this before we went online, and as somebody who's had some experience of it, I found it really moving.
Yeah, I did. The last thing I will say about Room 119, because we are going to move on. I actually got it, obviously self-published it. It's now in hardback as well, which I'm amazed at, and I'm going to put the price up soon because I'm not making any. I'm making pence on it because I put it at a low price so I could buy it, because the beta program of Amazon KDP isn't really in the UK yet, so it gets printed in Denmark and it's meant to take 14 days to come. It actually came in 4 days, but because I couldn't order author copies because it wouldn't let me, I had to go on the Denmark site and it just said, well, you're not in the UK and all this mess. I put the price down, and I'm not going to put it up for a week, but just so I could buy one. No one else has bought one because I wanted to see what I had.
Up because there's a bit of a debate running quite often with the quality of the Amazon hardbacks, but it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very pleased.
Are we pleased with it when it turned up? Because all the authors want to know before they do it.
Yeah, I was amazed how good it looks. And one of the things I haven't got another Room 119 here, but you might be able to tell from these two, is the actual cover, because it's printed on harder cardboard, is really clear. Whereas the paperbacks are a little bit grainy. Whereas you can see all the detail. There's a bit here which you'll appreciate, which my wife put this in. It says, "Do not alight here," because you're not meant to get off at this. This is a disused railway station, and you're not meant to get off there. So we said, "Can you put a 'Do not alight here' thing in?" And you can read it on this. Where if you've got the paperback, you're like, "Oh, what does that say?" You can't really tell. So I was very impressed with the quality. Yeah, very much so.
So are we going on to funicular?
Funicular. Does anyone know what funicular is?
I've started it, so I am not in a position to comment. Is it going to make me cry again?
Probably not.
Okay.
Funicular will.
That's good. I don't like to cry too often.
You may cry near the end, but generally you will be. It'll mess with your head. If you think Room 119 messed with your head, it didn't. Do you know what? Some of the stuff that happens in Funicular, and just from a writing point of view, I gave my editor 96,000 words. I got back 93,000. So she said your writing has dramatically improved. So I stopped overtelling the story. So I've learned my lesson. And you like Doctor Who, you like Funicular.
I've only really watched one series, and Christopher Eccleston's my Doctor Who.
Yeah, I'm trying.
And I've never really watched it before or after. It's not that it's not my thing. I just don't watch live TV.
Again, it's one of those things where you'd have to, when you're on board. Basically, it's a detective story, and a London copper is going to get killed down London if he stays. He's put too many bad eggs away, and he manages to get this transfer. He's coming near the end of his career, and he's a sort of slightly overweight, washed out. You know the type you've seen the films. Slightly overweight, washed out copper who looks a bit like. I think I put a line in the book that he had a look of Elvis back in the day. He said he still did have a look of Elvis, but Las Vegas Elvis, not G.I. Jones Elvis.
I was wondering where you were going with that then. Okay.
And yeah, he's sort of putting a few too many pounds, and he's just working his retirement. And he ends up in Saltburn. None of them like him in Saltburn. Basically, his boss down London managed to get him a shift up here. And then he stumbles across a cold case of two people who got in the top of the funicular cliff lift at Saltburn. One really stormy night, a man and a boy, and nobody got out at the bottom. But there was a ticket left. That's all there was in the car when they got down the bottom. And if you know the funicular, the cars cross like that. Funicular means rope, I think, in Latin, and it means they're joined together. So what happens at the Saltburn one? This one gets filled full of water. This one gets emptied, and there's a natural spring up here. So it's all Victorian engineering. And then as they take the brake off, this one pulls that one up, and then they fill that one full of water and let the water out the bottom, and it still runs today.
I would get on that if you paid me.
It's all right. It's safe.
Doesn't matter how safe it is. Not
after you read the book, you will not go on it actually, because someone disappears. And the brakeman to this day claims that this guy. So anyway, he ignores all that folklore rubbish, and then he stumbles across another cold case, which happened more recently because that was in the 80s or something. And then this cold case happened sort of 5 years ago, and he thinks I've got nothing to do. I'm a detective in Saltburn with nothing to detect. So he goes looking at this. I got any cold case for me to look at, and he looks at it, and he starts connecting all the dots together about
cold cases
what happened in the 80s. And then some things happen. I mean, when I was writing that, I was having so much fun because I could do whatever I wanted. So there's a point in the book where he receives a letter off someone, and it's in French, right? And he can't speak French. And he's in bloody French. I mean, what am I doing? And he's sat on the pier. So the setting of this is wonderful. You've got surfers in it. You've got the beach, and you've got all this stuff. You've got lemon tops. You've got palmos, if anyone knows what a palmo is.
Lemon tops?
Lemon tops and ice cream that you have all year round with a lemon short sorbet on the top.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a thing. And all year round. So in December, people are eating.
I live in a little part of Manchester. All we get is like the blue and the red swirly sauce things.
Oh, right, yeah. Lemon tops have been around forever.
Lemon tops sounds fancy and lovely.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of
if you drink, you're fine. Breathe and drink. It's okay. You're allowed.
I will have a drink. So as he gets deeper and deeper into this case, he gets this letter in French. This is just one thing that happens, and all of a sudden, he looks at the thing on the outside and he can't read it. It says his name, but he opens the letter and it's all in French. He's going, well, what the hell? Someone sent me this for. He doesn't know who sent it. And then as he's looking at the letters, he starts reading it out loud in English. He translates the French and he's going, but I can't speak French. And you're like, and he's going, how am I doing this? How am I I've never spoke French in my life, and I can read this fluently. So he read it again out loud, and he's like, well, what's happening? And it's full of stuff like that. And at the end, you're like, all right, that all makes sense. But when I suppose the best way I could sell Funicular is if you want a detective story where it's a bit like you could be the detective, because you're finding out exactly the same time he is, and more or less nobody else is, and you're basically him in the story. It's not written in the first person; it's written in the third person. But so then we're telling the story. But you could imagine you're getting no more information than what he is. And so you could be working this out at the same time. So it's a bit like one of those books years ago. You remember when, if you want to slay the dragon, go to page 57. If not, go to page 26. And it's a bit like that. There's an awful lot.
One behind me, the Choose Your Own Adventure books.
They were brilliant, weren't they? Have you got one handy?
I might have. You keep talking, I'll have a look.
You're telling me to keep talking?
Yeah, I'm sure you can manage that, Trev.
So anyway, yeah, Funicular will mess with your head. A bit of paranormal going on in there. Might seem a bit like a ghost story at certain times.
It's not behind me.
A lot of unexplained stuff which looks unexplainable. And I can imagine when I wrote it, you see, I could do this. So when I'm writing, I leave a bullet points at the bottom of, if I dreamt it, and I dreamt this one as well. So I'd have all the bullet points right underneath where I'm writing. And then I'll just write away and think, oh, that'd be a good idea. I'll just write away. And if ever I come up with something I've got to connect later on, I'll just drop a bullet point in to this never-ending list of bullet points that are getting crossed off. So I put them in a different color as they've gone. And then I always, if I come up with an idea in the middle of writing a chapter, I think, right, got to use that later. So I've got to plant stuff. You know, you can't just have a reveal later on unless you planted something earlier. But I don't plot it. I just write away, and it will mess with your head. And the weird thing is, my mother loves Room 119 miles better than Funicular. Her bridesmaid from years ago goes, oh my God, Funicular, ley lines and weird stuff. And so she's all over that. And I would probably think, I think Funicular is, I'm more proud of Funicular because of how well I gave it to the editor and how well it was formed and done. But yeah, Room 119's your first child, isn't it? So it's probably that's my favorite. But one of the best things that happened at all is getting them on Audible, and that's not trying to get people to buy Audible. It's the fact that I was working in Tetbury for Dyson. I was contracting for Dyson as a consultant for them in IT in Tetbury. I was living in Tetbury, but he's in Malmesbury, just down the way from there. And that was when I realized you can get an Audible book done without paying anything, because I thought you had to pay a narrator an absolute fortune. But obviously the lesser, Stephen Fry would cost a fortune an hour. But when I found a narrator, because you can audition them and you can go watch their show reels. And this girl had never done an audio book in her life. But what she had done, she used to work for BBC Singapore. She used to live over there, and she used to be the announcer for the BBC. So next on BBC Singapore is Gavin and Stacey. So that was the show reel I had to see whether she was any good. So I picked about three narrators, then auditioned them to read the first chapter, and her Northeast accent was brilliant, even though she's from down south. I think she's now she's done a few audiobooks now. She's done both mine, but she's also, I think she's on Radio Brighton or something. She reads the news. So, but she's just got one of those voices which I loved. But the best thing about all of that is having written Room 119, read it a million times as I'm editing it, then reading it again after my editor read it, then reading it again after my proofreader had done it, and then doing the same with Funicular. Getting the audio book out and listening to chapter by chapter as she sent me them to proofread, it was like I'd never read the book because I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
So the first one I got done was Funicular. I got Funicular done before Room 119, and I'm actually listening to this thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Forgetting that I should probably know because I wrote it, but listening to it and reading it, I think, especially having written it, if I was to try and read it, I'll probably skip bits because I know I've written it. Whereas the Audible version, all of a sudden I was really invested in the story. So I think the audio version of Funicular is better than Room 119, but I think Room 119 is a better book. There we go. You can tell me in about 3 days, can't you? 2 days.
I can. Yeah. Andrew actually asked if your books were on audio. So they're on audio. They're available on Kindle Unlimited.
Correct.
You can buy paperbacks. Can you buy hardbacks of both yet?
No, I haven't done the art. I've got to reformat the book to see how many pages it is before you can do the artwork. So I wanted to test if they were rubbish. I wasn't going to do the second one, but they are really good. So I will do them hardback. They're in. And just last thing on Audible, if anybody does write a book, or if there's any authors on and have not got an Audible book out, the reason I could afford that, because it costs a fortune, is if you get a lesser known narrator, or they've ticked the box that they'll do 50-50 share, you've written the book, they read the audio, we go 50-50 on profits. So it doesn't cost, there's no outlay whatsoever. So if you've got a book and think I'm scared of doing Audible, it costs a fortune, it doesn't cost anything, and that's good news for both parties. And weirdly, you get really good rate. I think you get about £12 a book or something stupid. You do get a lot for Audible, but most people subscribe to Audible, don't they? So they get their 2 free credits or 3 free credits. I've actually got a few. Before you go get it, I've got some free. We get free codes as well. I've got a few free codes kicking about. Am I allowed to give them away?
Well, we did talk about that before we went live, didn't we? So you do want to do a competition. So what are the prizes for the competition, and how do you want people to go about? Do you want to do a post in the group tomorrow?
I'll do a post in the group tomorrow, and I'll give a signed paperback of Room 119, a signed paperback for Funicular, and I'll give an Audible code out for both. The caveat on that is I've just sent an Audible code. I got them ages ago, and I don't use them. An American one for Funicular, it's not working. So yes, I'll give them out. Yeah, UK only.
Well, you can write that in the post, and then anybody from around the world will know that it's UK only this time.
Yeah, no, I'll give a signed copy of both of them away. I can't give Kindle ones away. I don't get any codes or anything. So, and I don't like sending I sent my Kindle book out to quite a few people, but it's weird. You as an indie author, you don't know, do you? And it doesn't take much for. My niece was, she's an English teacher, and she's read both books, and she's reading my 3rd book now at the moment. And she went, "Oh, it costs too much as a student. I've got to go on this other site to get all my textbooks." I said, "Well, what site is that?" And she went, "Well, it's a bit dodgy, Uncle Trev." And
don't name it.
Yeah, I'm not going to. She's a little. Anyway, she went, "Your book's on here." I went, "Yeah, typical." So even my books are on this dodgy site. I won't name it anymore. You know what it's called. But I went, "That's the world, Abby. That's the way it is." So that's disgusting.
No, you have to email people about things. We have to have things taken down. I actually saw was The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and I've not read it yet.
I have.
But something had come up on a page, and I thought, that's his book. So I emailed the publisher, and they were chasing it to be taken down. Canongate, I think it was.
It's terrible.
So no, we don't just accept it, Trev. No. We fight.
Yeah, I only found out on Sunday. But
oh well, yeah, you've not had much time to fight yet.
Honestly, I've read The Midnight Library, and I've read 19 books ever now. I'm on my 20th. I think I mentioned that. And Midnight Library's, I'm going to get hammered for this, aren't I? But it's probably the worst of the 19, joint worst of the 19 books I've read. However, some people absolutely love it. And I listened to it on Audible. And I suppose the problem I had was the main character.
I don't know. We generally don't name authors in bad reviews, Trevor.
No, listen, I can say he's got another book which I'm going to read because it's meant to be absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, it wasn't for me. But you get that, don't you? You get it wasn't for you. I've been told off. So
yeah, of course you have been told off. Slapped hands. I've got. Where is it?
It's meant to be. A lot of people. It's the best book they've ever read, though. So if we all like the same stuff, it'd be rubbish.
I've got one of his books behind me somewhere. It's that thing of when I'm live, I can't find anything.
Yeah.
So, what's it called? Oh, it's going to drive me insane. That I'll have to have a look afterwards.
There's one of his books I really want to read because it's meant to be so thought-provoking, but that one just didn't do it for me. And to be honest, on Audible as well, sometimes the narrator might get on your nerves. And if I'd read it, it might have been different, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's driving me mad that I can't think of the name of it because my friend recommended it for a reason. And I can see it.
I like Matt Haig as well. I talk to him.
Can't think what it's called.
I talk to him on Twitter sometimes. We do have the odd chat, so I've got no ideas. I'll best try another one and love it. Yeah.
Yes, I would recommend that as a very good idea. Let's move on. Memorable moments for you so far as an author. Obviously, it's a big moment for you having written it in the first place, not expecting ever to do it.
Yeah, having not read.
It's all right. Reasons to Stay Alive. Thank you, Donna. It is. It's reasons. It's somewhere on here behind me.
I thought the reasons to stay alive was because I mentioned it.
It's that one. It yes. Is absolutely that one. Thank you, Donna. I don't know if you could see it behind me, but
it's the Unreal, that book. So I will give that.
I'm not trying to put it back on now. It can go there, otherwise I'll end up with it on my head. Yeah, there you go. After your little review, Matt can have a little plug now.
I can't point to it. Go get that book, everyone.
That one.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I interrupted. Carry on.
Yeah, I can't remember what I was saying.
Neither can I. Memorable moments.
I suppose just I told you this the other day, didn't I? Having, when I was at school, Mr. I won't mention him either. He's dead now, actually, but I don't want to get him any more trouble.
Are you not giving him the real name in the book, by the way?
He's not in the book.
He's not the guy in room 119.
No, he's not. No.
Okay, I genuinely thought he was.
My English teacher said to me one day when I was in senior school, he went, "Can you read your story out, please, Trevor?" And I went up the front, really surprised. I was never asked to read a story out, mainly because no one could read my handwriting. It wasn't the fact I had no imagination; it's because nobody could read what I'd put. And then when I joined the RAF, I had to write in this daily occurrence book every day, and I got fountain pens, started practicing calligraphy, and then somebody actually asked me to, can I write their christening thing out? And I was like, you know, if my English teacher could only see me now, people asking me to write this stuff out. But when he got me to the front of the class and said, "Can you read your story out?" which he never got asked of me, and my stories are generally rubbish because I was too busy playing football. I got up the front and I couldn't read after the second paragraph because I was rushing when I did my homework. I couldn't read it. I went, "I can't read it, sir." He went, "Well, if you can't read it, Lince, how do you expect me to? Sit down." So my big moment in English was basically ridiculed because of how bad my handwriting was. So I suppose one of the biggest achievements is the fact that borderline dyslexic, I probably am. I'm very, very surprised if I wasn't. Got an E in English. If it wasn't for computers, tell you what, I wouldn't have a life because saved my life. I'm an IT trainer, an IT consultant, and Microsoft Word, it sorts most of your problems out, but it sorts your spelling out. Sometimes I'll spell something in Word and it'll be underlined in red, and then I right click on it and even Word goes, "I haven't got a clue, mate." So I'll just change the vowels around a bit, and if I still haven't got a clue, I'll just change the word. I'll reformat a whole sentence because I can't spell a word, which is terrible, isn't it? But so I suppose my biggest achievement is
people that do that is unreal.
But on the back of all of that, and being able to not get a book out, because anybody can get a book out as long as they put in the dedication and get the story out. But the fact that you get reviews and people say nice things, if ever you read a book and I know you lot do because I see them all the time, if ever you're thinking, should I write a review or not, you're making that author's day. You really are. You're beaming all day when you get a couple of 5-star reviews. You're just so happy. And I've learned as well not to. I think I've got about 2 I told you I think I got 2 1-stars on Christmas Day with no comments, and I've had one which said just not for me because she never got past the trader bit. Apart from that, I've not really had any bad reviews. But when I got my first one, I wouldn't speak to anybody. I was like so down. And you can't. If any advice I could give to anyone is, don't get too high with your 5s and don't get too low with your other ones. Some people like it, some people don't, and just live with it. But my biggest achievement is just actually being who I am and managing to get a book out, I suppose.
And I was horrified when you told me that about your teacher, because there's no words for that kind of crappy behaviour, is there? There's no excuse for it. And we did have a deeper conversation about it that I won't go into live, but
long time ago, wasn't it? So, and the world's changed a little bit. I mean, I left school in '85, and the world was a different place, wasn't it? I mean, nobody recognised any of this stuff, did they? So, and to be honest, I'm not saying it was all my fault, but parts of it were. I used to do my homework in the last 10 minutes after I'd been playing football in the back field for about 4 hours. You know, and it was too dark to do anything else. I come in, our mum would say, "Have you done your homework?" And I'll go upstairs and scribble a few things down.
But so you'd expect that from a teenage boy. You wouldn't expect that behaviour from a teacher. And I can say that knowing that I still am in contact with my English teacher. I won't name him because I've never asked his permission to name him. But he is a wonderful human being. And he was the kind of man who commanded respect just by being who he was. So it was all, are you trying to hide your wife?
No, my wife's just silhouetting for us. She's doing a James Bond silhouette moment. That's what she's doing.
She absolutely was. And what a fabulous moment it was. But yeah, no, I think teachers who get it right are the best for the children. And I'm just really glad it didn't put you off.
No, I had some great teachers as well. Don't get me wrong. You do. And it didn't. And the thing was, it probably put me off reading. And then because you don't read, you don't think you can ever write. And just the cards just fell down in the right place in my head, I suppose. I had a dream, decided to write it. People liked it. Going to continue doing it. I haven't written a book for a couple of years because I found it very hard during COVID because I work here now in this office.
Yeah.
I was working down London. And although that might seem harder, but working down London, then having that tube journey and then going to a hotel or the flat I had in London, that gap allowed you to want to write when you got back to where you were because you had that gap. Whereas at the moment, I finish work at 5 o'clock and the first thing I want to do is get out of here. And then I often don't get back in here. So I'm being quite religious at the moment, trying to get my third book out about an escape room and a group of university students that get pulled back together for a reunion and nobody knows who's organised it. And then some weird stuff starts happening. Yeah.
Maybe you need a second place for your a desk for your work day.
You just move a bit.
Yeah. So you've got just a slightly different aspect and it feels different.
I could go sit in the kitchen
at either end of your desk.
Yeah, I could write my laptop in the kitchen, which would probably make a bit more sense. And at least it's not.
It won't all feel the same. Well, it's same four walls. Yeah. Right, before we go, because we've done our hour.
Oh, well done.
And I feel like we could sit here for another hour quite easily.
Yeah.
Give us a quick recap of what everybody should go and buy.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Room 119 is obviously we've told you loads about it. Yeah, I think you loads,
but we told you nothing really.
Yeah, I think loads. I think you like it. Most people like it. Might be a film soon. Shh.
But I didn't think I was allowed to ask you.
I know. I can't say too much, but we're working on the script with the director, so maybe. You never know, dear. That might happen. I think you'll all like that. If that one, probably more of a paranormal mystery. I don't know if you watched Behind Her Eyes with Sarah Pinsberg. I don't know if you watched that. I've not read it, but there's some weird stuff happens in that, and you've got to go with it. You can't just say, "Oh, well, that wouldn't happen." You know, so there is some very strange stuff in there. And if you're from the Northeast, you probably love it because. If anyone's ever been to Saltburn, there was someone off this group actually went to Saltburn on the back of reading this and then sent me a picture of them. I can't remember who it was, but they sent me a picture of the funicular, but unfortunately it's shut at the moment. It's not working because of COVID. They couldn't have too many people in a small car. I think they're opening up again next year. But yeah, I think you'll like them too. And then you know, I'm always on the group. If you want to speak to me about anything, then let me know. But I will do some type of giveaway tomorrow, Sam, if that's all right.
Absolutely. You need to write in it that I'm the admin that gave permission, and describe any images that you put in it.
Yes, I'll do that.
For our members with screen reader technology, who the screen reader can't read what the image is, So we asked for it to be transcribed. So as long as you remember that, then I won't have to slap your hands.
I know, I've already been slapped today.
Move on. Let us move on. So thank you so much. Thank you to all of the members who've joined in. And thank you, Trev. What a great hour.
Yeah, I loved it. Thanks, everybody. And if you see me about lurking around, then say hello. I normally just come up with the odd stupid comment at some point, but yeah.
That's what the internet's for, right?
Yeah.
And keep your eyes posted for competition tomorrow in the group. Super. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for your time, everyone. Thanks, Sam.